Brace yourselves, America, because what's unfolding in Washington and the Middle East right now isn't just a geopolitical chess match. It's a full-blown crisis threatening to drag us into another endless war. President Donald Trump is pushing the United States perilously close to a catastrophic conflict with Iran, a move that defies common sense, international law, and even the will of his own Congress. We're talking about a president taunting a nuclear-capable nation on social media while simultaneously considering joining Israel's escalating strikes. This isn't just reckless. It's a dangerous gamble with American lives and global stability. But here's the kicker. A bipartisan coalition in Congress is finally fighting back, attempting to rein in this unhinged executive overreach. We're about to expose the hidden agendas, the shocking betrayals, and the terrifying implications of this brinkmanship. If you want to know the unfiltered truth about who's really pushing for war and who's trying to stop it, hit that like button and subscribe now. Because the truth needs an audience, and this story is far from over. The fuse has been lit. Over the past 5 days, Israel has launched escalating missile strikes against Iranian nuclear and military facilities, a move that has pushed the Middle East to the brink. This aggressive action came just ahead of scheduled negotiations between the U.S. and Iranian leadership, raising serious questions about its timing and intent. Simultaneously, President Donald Trump has amplified tensions with a series of provocative Truth Social posts, openly taunting the Iranian regime and demanding unconditional surrender.
It invaded our towns.
News reports indicate Trump is even considering joining Israel's strikes, a decision that would directly entangle the U.S. in a conflict with potentially devastating global consequences. In response, a rare bipartisan coalition in the U.S. Congress is attempting to assert its constitutional authority. Representatives Thomas Massey, R.K., and Ro Khanna, D. Khalifa, introduced a war powers resolution in the House, with Senator Tim Kaine and Divya Mishra introducing similar legislation in the Senate. These resolutions aim to prohibit unauthorized U.S. military hostilities in Iran, forcing Trump to seek congressional approval before committing American troops. This is a critical moment. Will Congress stand up to presidential overreach, or will the U.S. be dragged into another costly, unwanted war? The escalating situation has unfolded rapidly, revealing deep divisions within Washington. Israel's initial attacks on Iranian nuclear and military sites set off a chain reaction, with Iranian state TV headquarters reported. This aggressive posture from Israel, particularly Prime Minister Netanyahu's suggestion of assassinating Iran's supreme leader, has fueled fears of a wider regional conflagration. On the U.S. front, the congressional response has been swift, though not entirely unified. Representatives Massey and Khanna, alongside Senator Kaine, invoked the 1973 War Powers Resolution, a mechanism designed to reclaim Congress's constitutional authority over declaring war. Massey highlighted that such resolutions are privileged in the House, allowing for a floor vote after 15 days without committee action. This procedural move forces every member of Congress to go on record. Are you with the neocons who led us into Iraq, or do you stand with the American people? Asked
Western Pennsylvania is the
However,
playground
the
of fossil
path to
fuels.
restraint
But
is
from there,
fraught
we
with
sent not just
internal
the first
conflict.
black woman to Congress
While
from Pennsylvania,
Congresswoman
we
Summer
also
Lee
sent a Green New
Deepa
Deal politician there. So I'm
emphasized
telling you,
Congress's
if
duty
we
to
can
prevent
win
Trump's
there,
executive
then we can win
overreach
everywhere. So
and
I just
avoid
wanted to bring that
another
little bit of good
endless
news to
war,
you real quick.
citing the disastrous invasions of Iraq and Afghanistan. Senator John Fetterman, Deepa, struck a starkly different chord. Fetterman publicly declared he would vote against Kaine's resolution, stating, "I really hope the president finally does bomb and destroy the Iranians." This dramatic reversal from his previous criticism of Trump's Iran policy underscores the complex and often contradictory pressures at play within the U.S. political landscape. Meanwhile, Trump's own rhetoric has only intensified the crisis. His Truth Social posts, boasting of complete and total control of the skies over Iran and claiming knowledge of the Supreme Leader's location, serve as thinly veiled threats. Reports of a White House Situation Room meeting where Trump considered joining Israel's strikes further highlight the imminent danger. The lack of clarity from the administration, coupled with Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth's refusal to assure Representative that the U.S. would not be dragged into the oncoming conflict, paints a grim picture. The question remains, will the constitutional checks and balances hold, or will the executive branch bypass congressional authority, leading the nation into a war it seemingly doesn't want?
Moments ago, Israel launched Operation Rising Lion, a targeted military operation to roll back the Iranian threat to Israel's very survival. This operation will continue for as many days as it takes to remove this threat. For decades, the tyrants of Tehran have brazenly, openly called for Israel's destruction.
And now, with global sentiment shifting on Gaza, he's finally got his win, a war with Iran, conveniently timed to distract from his own abysmal failures and desperate fight for political survival. It's like a bad reality TV show where the villain creates a new, bigger drama to avoid being voted off the island. And what about our America First president? Donald Trump, the man who railed against Middle Eastern wars, is now practically high-fiving Netanyahu over an attack that directly undermines his own diplomatic efforts. His Truth Social boasts sound less like a commander-in-chief and more like a kid in a sandbox yelling, "Look what I can do!" The heads up turned into full cooperation, and suddenly Israel isn't going rogue, but exacting punishment for a missed deadline. It's a twisted bromance, a geopolitical walk-back mountain where both parties are playing with U.S. lives, seemingly oblivious to the fact that their 4D chess looks more like hungry hippos with nuclear codes. The congressional response, while commendable in its bipartisan effort, feels like trying to put out a wildfire with a garden hose. While Massey, Khanna, and Kaney wave the Constitution like a sacred text, Fetterman's sudden hawkish pivot is a stark reminder that some politicians would rather bomb and destroy than engage in the messy work of diplomacy. It's the kind of leadership that makes you wonder if they're reading from a different script, perhaps one where common sense and international law are just optional DLC. This isn't just about policy, it's about a dangerous, self-serving narrative. The right to self-defense has become a blank check for criminality, allowing Israel to starve and burn children alive and launch preemptive wars, all while the wider Western world offers not condemnation, but complicity. It's a grotesque pantomime where the victims are blamed, the aggressors are lauded, and the U.S. is expected to foot the bill and shed its blood for a conflict no one wants, except those who profit from chaos. This isn't statesmanship. It's a clown show with real-world consequences, and frankly, it's terrifyingly un-American. The ripple effects of this escalating conflict are already reverberating globally, threatening to plunge the Middle East into an even deeper, more destabilizing crisis, with severe repercussions for the United States and the world economy. Analysts warn that direct U.S. continued political enablement would be far worse than the Iraq War, given Iran's larger population and strategic significance. Economically, the impact is immediate and stark. Oil prices have surged, with Brent crude reaching nearly $75 a barrel, and global stock futures have tumbled as investors flee to safe haven assets like gold and U.S. Treasuries. This financial turmoil is a direct consequence of heightened geopolitical instability, signaling a potential slowdown in global economic growth if the conflict escalates further. Experts predict continued volatility in energy markets and a chilling effect on international investment as businesses and consumers grapple with uncertainty. Politically, the crisis exposes deep fissures within the U.S. government and its alliances. The bipartisan effort in Congress to invoke the War Powers Resolution highlights a desperate attempt to reclaim legislative authority from an executive branch perceived as acting unilaterally. However, the differing stances, particularly Senator Fetterman's pro-war comments, underscore the fragility of this unity. The conflict also strains U.S. diplomatic efforts, as Trump's rhetoric and perceived alignment with Israel undermine any attempts at de-escalation or negotiation with Iran. Internationally, the U.S. risks further isolation and a diminished role as a global mediator. The America First approach in this context appears to be pushing the U.S. into a conflict that serves narrow interests rather than broader solutions and secure political survival promises only more death, displacement, and economic hardship, with no clear path to a resolution that benefits the American people or global stability. So here we stand at a perilous crossroads. The escalating conflict between Israel and Iran, fueled by reckless rhetoric and political maneuvering, threatens to drag the United States into a war no one wants. This isn't just about foreign policy. It's about the very fabric of our democracy, the balance of power, and whether truth can prevail over unchecked ambition. We've seen how easily the narrative can be twisted, how quickly the call for self-defense can become a justification for aggression, and how readily some leaders will gamble with American lives for political gain. Now, we want to hear from you. Do you believe Congress can truly rein in presidential war powers, or are we destined for another endless conflict? What do you think is the real reason behind this escalation? Share your thoughts, your outrage, and your insights in the comments below. Your voice matters in this fight for accountability and truth. If you found this breakdown insightful, if it made you think, or if it simply fueled your righteous indignation, please smash that like button. Subscribe to our channel and hit the notification bell so you don't miss our ongoing coverage of this critical situation. Share this video with anyone who needs to hear the unfiltered truth. Together, we can hold power accountable and demand a future free from unnecessary wars. Stay vigilant, stay informed, and stay loud.